I always forget. And then we have people jumping in here. If you guys want to put your name and access ID in the chat, when you get a chance, that would be great. And I'll do another reminder about that in a minute. Give people a couple more minutes to jump in. All right, I'm going to wait one more minute. We've got a lot of people jumping in here. And I know we're expected to have quite a few people here today, in the 40s, so not 50s. So people are jumping in out after their 10:30 appointment, coming from meetings. So we want to make sure they get all the info. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I have that part already done. Sure, here.
Sounds good.
And I'll make this. All right, welcome everybody. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Go ahead and put your name and access ID in the chat. We will go ahead and get started. I'm going to be putting an attachment in the chat, a document from financial aid from Daisy and her team here. So you can feel free to download that, and I'll probably do it a couple times. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm so happy to have Daisy Cordero here with her team. I'll let her introduce her colleagues and thank her for being here. This is going to be a little bit more of a specific content than our normal semesterly get-togethers talking about financial aid for advisors. We wanted to do a session just focusing on satisfactory academic progress. So I will let Daisy introduce the topic and her teammates.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate you and all of your staff that have taken time to be here with us. We really appreciate it. We thought this was really important to avoid kind of a mess, you know, going forward in the fall. We thought, you know, this would be a nice discussion to have. So that's why we decided to do this. And with me are Shane and Matthew and Ashley Morgan. And they will be presenting with me. We got together and we put everything together. So hopefully it'll be something useful and you will have some decent, good, strong takeaways after the presentation. Also, we have Shabana Mohanan, who is our new Assistant Director of Outreach and Retention in the office. And she's here to support us and to answer questions and, you know, just be part of the group. So thank you, Shabana, for joining us. I appreciate it. And thank you, everybody. All right, shall we begin the party?
Right.
All right. Guide to Satisfactory Academic Progress for Academic Advisors. And this is all about helping students complete an accurate SAP appeal. And the reason we put our heads together, my colleagues and me, is to avoid the ping-ponging going back and forth among 3 or 4 departments when a student submits an appeal. Appeals are tricky and they're not easy sometimes, you know, and we depend on the student's information, on the academic advisor's information. Then when all that is put together, then they come to us. And you don't have any idea how many times we have to go back and forth among, you know, departments or the students and us, which is not an effective, use of our time, number one, and then the students get really mad. And then you know how that goes. It just evolves into something that is not supposed to be this way. It's not that hard, but we do need information because anything the Department of Education touches is going to be a mess, always, until each financial aid office irons it out, puts bows on it, and presents it to the student. And that's what we do in our office. We really tried hard to make this easy. So, all right, let's start. All right, why must the student submit a SAP appeal? Well, if it was up to our office, nobody would submit a SAP appeal. You're not passing, GPA is not high enough, you're not completing your courses, forget it, you're done. And that would be what, because it's easier that way, right? But it's not right for the students who we serve and our office. So the Department of Education has very strong monitoring regulations that we must put in place in our office. And I have to tell you, we have very good audit checks in our office to make sure that we're doing this correctly. Okay, so this is what government says you have to do it this way, and whoever holds the gold can put the rules out there. So this is what this is all about. We cannot tell the government, well, forget it, that's too much work, we're not doing that. No. So we're checking every semester, after that semester, cumulative GPA, course completion percent or pace, maximum time frame for program 150% or 180. Above 180 credits, that's going to be a red flag. Okay. It is required, SAP is required, as you know, for the students to retain their financial aid eligibility, and the WSU scholarship retention too, because without a student progressing to graduation, this is a lost cause. I mean, why are we here? If we are not working together to help the students graduate, which is our goal, right? Then why are we doing this? Unfortunately or fortunately, the Department of Education says, okay, I know you guys are really gung-ho about graduating these people, but we need to know what's happening behind the scenes. GPA, how long is this student taking to complete this program? 10 years? That kind of thing. So we have to comply with the federal regulation. That's why we do this. All right. When approved, when a student submits a very nice, strong appeal, if approved, the student will regain their financial aid eligibility. And we have a policy. There's the website. Okay. And everybody should be familiar with the policy of the financial aid office because it's the federal policy. And then we make sure that it's readable. When we get it, we have to make sure that it's done correctly so everybody understands it. But that's the reason why we do this. Okay. Academic advisors cannot see our forms to see when a student is unsatisfactory, but since you are the people who support and advise the students who are in trouble with their academics, you will know. If you have a student who has 12 Fs, that if they're receiving financial aid, they will be on warning one semester. The next semester, unless the student appeals, they're going to lose their financial aid. So this is something that you can kind of gather when you meet with your students. But unfortunately, we cannot make this public to the rest of the university because we're not allowed to. Okay, next, please. And there it is. Advisors cannot look up the student SAP status due to financial aid confidentiality situation. Okay. They can see what their current SAP, the students can see all of this via Academica. We hold no mysteries. We don't cover the sky with our hand. This is very clear because there is no way to support our students if we don't have it clearly laid out for them via the financial aid portal on Academica. But I have to tell you, you will be amazed at how many of our students never, ever visit Academica unless they have to. So they're in the dark. Sometimes I tell them, you have to check Academica. We may be giving you $1 million and you don't even know you got the money. Please check Academica. This is really important. And SAP is based on the student's academic performance. Without performance, they can't graduate, right? GPA 2 or higher, 67% credit completion is required, and the 150 time frame or below 180. And then when a student does not meet a prior academic plan, if we approve an appeal and we say the student could only take 6 credits, 9 credits, whatever, and must maintain a 2.2 or 3. At the end of that semester, when we run SAP again to review the performance of the student, if the student has not met those requirements, then they'll be on SAT again. So it's important for us to communicate this to the students, okay? And I believe that my colleague Shane is next on the next set of slides. Shane?
Yes. Hey. All right. So academic advisors and what y'all can help with us. Primarily, it's going to be assisting with creating a academic plan, also referred to as a plan of work. So you will hear it interchangeably. We're moving to academic plan, but we usually say plan of work. So we'll use them interchangeably, just so you know. So this can be done on DegreeWorks under the plan tab, or some programs, specifically master's programs, typically use the printed version and then it is signed. When a student comes with a satisfactory SAP appeal to you and needs a plan of work or is working with you, please do it for at least 3 semesters, unless they are graduating, as that is typically how long it takes a student to get back on track, and it provides us with a complete look at their plan. Please don't include spring summer. It is a couple of problems. A lot of students don't take spring summer courses for monetary reasons, needing a break, various other things, and it can be frustrating to look at when we're reviewing plan of works. So it's easier if it just is fall winter. If a student is submitting a secondary appeal or a time frame appeal, it needs to be locked on DegreeWorks and or printed and signed. If it's a first appeal, not a time frame appeal, the student can create the plan of work themselves. But if they have come to you for either of those reasons, locked and signed, I also recommend, if you're just doing it, it might just be easier to get in the habit of just locking and signing it. It's not a bad thing to have it locked and signed. You can also advise the students on their personal statement that is required, which we will talk about on the next slide. But that is something that has to be submitted with every appeal. So next slide, please. I did have one note on the academic plans, and I'm sorry. For those of you that are advising specifically on lockstep programs, I am thinking specifically of nursing, farm are 2 of the big ones. Please do still create a plan of work for the student. Yes, they're in a lockstep program. Yes, they're staying with their cohort. It's much easier on our end. It's less confusing. It provides one process. If you have any questions or concerns about doing that for a student or a specific situation, please reach out to somebody in our office and we can talk about it. Personal statements need to explain what happened and what has changed. Now, those are the 2 big ones. What has happened, what has changed. Statement needs to be clear, concise, grammatically correct, paragraphs are a plus, punctuation. It's a great thing. Not avoiding gory details. It needs to be detailed, but we don't need to know everything about your traumatic car accident. So if you look at a personal statement and there's a lot of detail and you're like, oh, maybe advise the student, we just need to know there was, for example, a car accident, we were a bad accident, that is okay. At that link there for the SAP appeal is an example of a well-written SAP appeal that a student can use as a reference. We will be looking at the forms later, but they're on the electronic form. It asks, explain what happened, what has changed, what you're going to do. Advise the student, don't put the same thing in all 3 boxes. We will mark it incomplete and make you rewrite the SAP appeal. So I have seen where students are like, I was in an accident, I was in an accident, I was in an accident. great, but one that didn't answer the question to more than one sentence. So yeah, statements. Next slide, please. Oop. There we go. Okay. So supporting documents, some, not all appeals do require documents. It is helpful in all cases. Not everything requires supporting documents. It provides context and proof for us. Documentation is typically going to be things from your doctor. So approximate date of when things happened, when you went in, when you came out, when you saw them, obituary notes of a person significant that's lost, divorce notes of either the student or the parent, vehicle repair information, anything of that note is supporting documentation. It can also be letters from their place of work. It can be letters from their counselor or something. Just things to provide support for the statement that they have written. Again, not required for all of them, but is helpful. Next slide, please. This is Ashley's turn. So Ashley would take it from here.
Hello, good morning. So we're going to be talking about how strongly each piece of the SAP appeal is weighted. So the submitted statement, the academic plan, and the supporting documents are all weighed equally, because if one of those components is missing, then we will mark the SAP appeal incomplete until we do get that missing component. Some common mistakes that we see with SAP appeals, the biggest one would be an incomplete academic appeal. So for example, if the student is taking 16 credits, but on their academic plan, they've only listed 10 credits, that academic plan is incorrect. Or if they're taking 16 credits and they're reflecting 16 credits in their academic plan, but those courses aren't lining up. So they're in real life taking COM 1010, but on their academic plan, it's saying they're taking COM 1020. Since those aren't correct, we would not approve that SAP appeal, and it will be marked incomplete until the student fixes the academic plan. Something else that we're seeing is that there are not at least 2 semesters listed on the academic plans. So when the academic plan is not locked, it's an easy fix for the student to go in and edit that themselves. However, when it is locked, it adds a whole new step, because they now have to come back in contact with the academic advisor, set up a new meeting, or reach out to you guys in some other way to get you to unlock it so that they can edit it and then lock it back. Something else that we're seeing are incomplete SAP statements. And this is because the students are not detailing the reasons for not meeting SAP in both the warning semester and the semester that they are officially not meeting SAP. So for both of those semesters, they need to detail what happened and what has changed since those 2 semesters. Okay, and then we'll move to the next slide. So extenuating circumstances for SAP appeals that hold a strong ground for approval. These include death of a family member or close significant other or friend, health issues with either the student or family members, a divorce either on the student side or for the parents, and then other life events that would affect the student's academic ability, such as transportation issues or their living situation changing abruptly. So typically for these situations, we only need maybe about 1 or 2 supporting documents. So in the case of a death of a family member, the obituary, the doctor's note, the letter of separation noting the divorce, or just other pieces of supporting information. Okay, so these are reasons for non-extenuating circumstances that would require a stronger statement and stronger supporting documents in order to be considered for approval. These reasons include maybe a death of a pet, forgetfulness of the student for just handing in their homework, forgetfulness of a test day, time management skills, the student working too many hours. We do receive a lot of SAP appeals for students stating that they're working too many hours, but again, the statement would need to be very detailed, explaining, what's going on and why they're working so much, as well as a letter from an employer detailing the start of when they started working so many hours and how long that continues, or that will continue to happen. Another reason is lack of awareness for campus resources. And another reason that we see for our SAP appeals is for freshman transition or first generation college students. We understand that is an issue, but again, they would need a very strong statement and then some supporting documents to go along with that SAP appeal. And now I believe the next slide is back over to Daisy.
Thank you, Ashley. All right, multiple appeals. You know, I wish we had a magic wand or something that would stop the students from submitting multiple appeals, because it's just a real hardship on everybody, particularly on the student. But life happens, and sometimes they have to submit multiple appeals. So acceptable reasons for second or third appeal, time frame, you know, sometimes a student, again, is under or over, and there are reasons for that. Okay, transfer credits, second degrees. Banner cannot tell anybody that, or it can't tell that a student has a bachelor's degree, 2 master's degree, and now working on a PhD. So when that comes up, of course, that student's going to be way over the 150, right? So they submit an appeal and we move on. And this may happen until they graduate. In this case, they don't have to submit an appeal every day, every time, but a plan of work or I'm sorry, an academic plan is what we are going to request in that case, because we know the student has multiple degrees. Or they're working on a dual degree. When a student has, as you know, more than 1 degree, it's going to be a huge number of credits. They're not going to be 120. So, or new extenuating circumstances that differ from the first and second appeal. What used to happen a while back, as my experience, you know, this was my experience, students would have 1 obituary for 5 or 6 cousins who have died. And then we would question that and say, well, wait a minute, you used this one for another last year, but it's the same name. How many people do you have in your family with the same name? So we would have to, you know, unravel it and peel back the onion and find out what is going on. Then when the truth came out, it was even a worse situation, that they did not have to say it was another death in the family. Their situation, their new situation was so bad that we would have accepted an appeal for those reasons, for those causes. So, but, you know, it gets a little tough. Second, third appeals decreases the chances of an approval, especially if it's if it's a continuous thing. You know, I couldn't get a sitter, my car broke down, you know, the same reason all the time. That becomes a little strange, and it puts us in a difficult position. You know, I have to give you some news here. We do not like to deny approvals, because we know that when we do that, it hurts the student. And we're here to support them, right, and help them graduate. But sometimes our hands are totally tied and we can't help the student. So those appeals must not, or should not, be a continuous appeal thing every year, because it just makes a dent and it's not a good thing. All right, next, please. All right, I'm sure all of you academic advisors have, you know, seen you know, a SAP appeal. Okay, I have to tell you, this very few students honestly read this appeal. They just don't read it. I know it's a lot of text, but remember that we're bound by the people who hold the money. Associate directors in our office try so hard with our input to make this appeal simple enough for 5th grader, 6th grader to read it. But it's still complicated. We understand that, okay? So nothing in financial aid is fast. For us, slow is fast. Everything takes so much time. So a student has to dedicate some time to read the appeal, know what they have to do. And if they did that, their lives would be much easier. And so would yours and ours. But unfortunately, we know ahead of time that a lot of students are not going to read this appeal form. Okay, but we have a lot of information on our website that will help the students understand what is required of them. And when they're sending a second appeal, they would have to send an improvement plan. Sometimes they miss it. So then we put those appeals on, they're incomplete. We'll have to contact the student and on and back and forth. And it slows the process down. We like slow because to us slow is fast, but not this slow. We need to get the student moving. So one of the difficulties we have is, the student must read and understand the appeal form. Okay, next, please. All right, takeaways from this presentation. I don't have a magic wand, nobody does. Okay, even Kathy K, who's our director, who's been here 1,000 years, doesn't have a magic wand for this. We would love to, okay, have this, we want you academic advisors to be able to take something useful from this presentation. Okay, we're going to have a Q&A and discussion in a minute. But remember that we are reachable. All you need to do is send us an email, pick a name, or Shane, myself, anybody. We have 10 financial aid officers. Pick a name and say, look, I need help with this. Always, always, always add the student's access ID so that we can find the student quickly and help you. We have to support each other. If we don't do that, this is going to continue being a very difficult situation for everybody, and there's no need for that, okay? So takeaways, have the student review the SAP appeal form in full. When you meet with them, say, Johnny, Susie, did you read your SAP appeal? Well, no. Well, then go back, read it, and then we'll come back and revisit, okay? Because you're not going to sit there, helping the student read an appeal when he should have done this before a meeting with you. And then not following the submission requirements by the deadline is a real problem. We have deadlines, we have dates that we have to meet because we have so many other things that we have to do for our students. If we did not have a deadline, this would be like people would be submitting appeals like very late in the semester where we cannot help them. Without your input, okay, academic advisors, we can't do our job. We can't do this. So I'm a believer that together we can do this and do it well without it being a burden on you, because I know you're overworked just like the rest of us. This is one of the things we're trying to fix here. If it's not the student's first appeal or an appeal for time frame, then that's great. Plans for the appeals must be locked or signed. That's it. That's the key. So we don't have to be going back and forth, telling the student, go back to your academic advisor. Please ask him to either sign or lock the academic plan. And when in doubt about how to assist the student, please contact us, please. We're here. We're here to help. Let us support your, assisting the students, because together we'll be stronger, right? And then there is the SAP for Academic Advisors webpage. There is the website. Please visit that. It's really pretty good. We've done, a good job in trying to help the academic advisors to be able to help their students without, too much work here. Okay, next, please. All right, Shane, I believe this is yours.
It is, yes.
Thank you.
All right, so if you, as you were talking to students for the end of the semester, beginning of next year, or your seniors, we do have the Warrior Senior Spring Scholarship for graduating seniors. So they have to be an undergraduate. They need to be graduating in August of 2023. They need to have met with you and have a plan in DegreeWorks. There is the paper or electronic form. We can have Kate send, I can copy the link and have it put into the chat so you can have it to give to the student. By end of business, Friday, July 7th, 2023, probably is midnight, but tell them the end of business. If they're going to wait till July 7th to do it, just no later than 4:45. So it is a flat award amount based on their courses they're required to take and complete for the spring summer. So 3,000 for 12 credits, 22 or 2,250 for 9 to 11, 1,500, and then 750. So that is very helpful. So if you have if you have students that are making that decision if they want to like wait till the fall or take the spring summer, there is this option that they can look into for applying to finish school. So yeah. And next one, questions, I think, is all that's left.
All right, this is the, thank you, Shane. And Ashley, this is the opportunity that we wanted to give all the academic advisors to please ask questions, discussion about anything that you need to have cleared up, or however you want to do this. But this is your opportunity to ask questions, please. So don't hesitate to do that.
Okay, so I'm going to answer Rebecca's question regarding spring summer courses on the plan about that are taking harder science courses and they can be more successful. We do know that students do that if they're feeling plan of work. It's not, the best way to put it is not a absolute no to put it on the plan of work. We just want you to steer away from it unless you are confident in the student's ability to take those classes. The reason being is if the student plans on taking, say, Calc 3 spring summer and fails Calc 3 spring summer and had it on the plan of work, they're going to have to file a new SAP appeal in the fall. So you can do it. It's not the end of the world. We just suggest you don't, if it's possible. Also, if you're looking, let's say it's in the this fall and you're filling it out, if you're planning for like, that's going to be their third semester on that plan of work, just put it for the fall. The when we review these plans of work, we understand that things change. So we will look at that. We can take that into account. But it is easier if it's not on there primarily. I guess is the best way to put it. Maybe Daisy or Ashley can explain that better. But I usually, if I see it on there, the student is enrolled, great. Or if they're enrolled in, say, Calc 3 and it's on the, I will look to see where it's supposed to fall in their plan. We can look at that. But
no, that's the way we also look at it, Shane. So thank you for that. I do have, there's a question about the effects of SAP appeals on flat tuition rates and new academic probation policy to include extra semesters on probation. We are not privy to the new probation policies from your side of the house, but for us, as you know, we review SAP every single semester, cumulative. I mean, from these people were here in 2019, all of their grades and all of their completion information is what we review. Everything. That's why it's cumulative. So for us, we know there may be a little bit of an uptick when we do this flat tuition situation, depending on how the students are understanding this. I had a student email me the other day asking me if she had enough money to take the required 18 credits for spring summer. I did not even reply to her email. I called her. I said, no, tell me what you understand about this flat rate. And, you know, she had absolutely no clue. She thought she was obligated to take 18 credits for spring summer. Imagine that. It's tough enough taking 15 between fall and winter. Adding, 18 for spring summer, that's suicidal. But I asked her, I said, tell me what you understand. I always do an evaluation of what people know, because if you know something, then I'm not going to repeat what you already know. Tell me where you are in your question. She had absolutely no clue. So I think that issue is going to be really a problem for all of us, explaining this to the students. Maybe some will get it and they're great. 15 credits, you're going to be charged 15 to 18, no big deal. So, you know, that's fine. But for us, as far as the appeals, again, we may see it a little bit higher, you know, appeal submissions, but it's not going to make that much of a difference for us. Unless the students are misunderstanding, are taking 18 credit hours and failing, you know, whatever. If they've passed 12 and failed the other, whatever, they'll still be satisfactory. Okay, 12 to 15, they'll be okay. The key here is that they're going to be charged for, you know, if they take 15, they're going, or 18, they're going to be charged for 15. End of story. I was concerned about this because I'm seeing students even taking 12 to 15 being unsatisfactory. They can't, sometimes they have a hard time doing the work. So if they misunderstand these new rules and policy and think they have to be enrolled for 18, we're in trouble. You know, so I'm trying to share with all my, and these are continuing students, by the way. The FIDIACs are not, they have no idea yet what's happening. They know that if they have pledges, Heart of Detroit or the new guarantee or all of those, they have to be at least 15 credits per semester. They know that. But this 18 numbers where it gets a little confusing for the continuing students. And I hope I have answered that concern.
Can
Okay.
I jump into from the
Sure.
I'm not sure who asked about the new policies regarding probation, but I think if you're going to offer students an additional term, and even when students are reinstated to the university, we don't know what kind of situation they are with financial aid. They could have lost it. They could be in a shambles. But when a student's coming back from exclusion, anytime you're doing some sort of academic recovery plan, or I think it's important to be very clear that this is not, that there's no guarantee that their financial aid is going to be approved. So this is the academic piece that we want to offer support with, and we'll work with them on their appeal. But then the decision for financial aid is going to come from a separate office using their own standards. And a lot of them overlap, but I've always been like really crystal clear that that piece is not our decision.
Thank you. And let me ask you this, Kate, do you have any recommendations for us and how we can help you with anything that has to do with that?
Hold on, I just screwed this up.
We can see your.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to let you know, just in case.
I was trying to get my, I should have muted my academic or my teams. I have not, you know, we're still, every school and college kind of navigates that piece on their own as far as how probation and additional terms work. I just know that it's important to be clear to students that, you know, reinstatement is about them asking to come back, but we're giving them the best academic advice on the load that they should take, but whether there are different expectations on the financial aid side or the housing side, or, you know, their employer side, or like all of that other stuff, you know, we can definitely take into account, but like we can't impact the financial aid. We don't know if they've used all their aid, if they've used all their appeals, if their reasoning is going to hold water, but, you know, a lot of times we're looking at the same appeal. We're hearing the same thing about their car accident or their illness or their death in the family. So, and taking all of those conditions into account. My concern is always with time, because a lot of times the students that are at most risk are often the students that come in late, come in August.
That's right.
Fall. They come in April for spring, summer. They come in January for winter.
Right.
And so here they are wanting to register. We want to get them in classes. We want them to start classes the first day. But if their SAP appeal goes in late, they won't get an answer till maybe past census. Do you have what is your thought about that? Should they register and hope and pray, or should they not register if they don't have an answer yet?
You know what, Kate? this is the strange thing. Every single student receives a love note from our office, letting them know that they're unsatisfactory, and it's on Academica. If they go on vacation, forget it. It's not happening. They're not checking anything until 2 days before classes begin. They know they're unsatisfactory. Even if your side of the house has reinstated them, they know they're unsat, but they ignore it. Not everybody, but some do until the last minute. So when that occurs, sometimes we could ask permission of our managers to see if we can do something with it. But a lot of times if they're late, they're late. And it becomes, especially if they're repeated offenders and they're back and forth with appeals, it becomes very hard for us to help the student. So, and you're correct. Once that you reinstate them, you have to let them know, go over there to the financial aid office to see, if your financial aid is on your account, because it's like when students come to us to ask us, should I drop this class? I look at them and I said, no, you can't ask me that question. Go over there to the academic advising experts. They're the ones. I can tell you what will happen if you drop a class, the results or the consequences from financial aid. But the other side, before you do anything, please go talk to your academic advisor. I cannot tell them drop that class. I can't. We may discuss maybe changing majors. If you're failing in every science course, you want to be, a microbiologist. No, we have to discuss this because you're not doing well here. But look, you have A's and B's and whatever else. So you may want to talk to your academic advisor to see about changing courses here. But yeah, it becomes very, very it's just a pain when students do things late. And I think Cynthia had her hand up. Cynthia?
Real fast, I just want to say, if it's late, like if they've registered and it's before census, if they're done turned in late, if I'm not saying no, have a backup plan. That's usually if a student comes to me and it's right close to census, I'm like, look, we can still do it. I tell them plan for the worst. Plan that is not going to be approved, or it's going to take a while, or that's what I would tell them is turn it in still. Plan for what you're going to do if it's not approved. So if that's taking less courses, whatever. So
by the way, we can never tell a student do not submit any type of appeal to the financial. We can't do that. That's illegal.
Yeah, they can always submit it.
They could always submit it. However, like Shane says, there may not be approved because you're so late, but please submit. Things happen. We don't plan on whatever, accidents or life. So we cannot tell a student, you cannot submit that appeal. We cannot do that. Okay. So Cynthia?
Hi, thanks.
Hi.
Hello. I think what Kate may have been alluding to a little bit is when the appeals are in and they're waiting for the grades to post to find out if a student is gonna, that kind of the turnaround for that is, but that's not my question. I saw that it indicated that the student would have their own plan of work in DegreeWorks.
Mhm.
And I wanted to clarify that because some students don't know how to fill that out. A plan of work in DegreeWorks, they don't know how to fill that out appropriately, and then have it locked or unlocked, and they don't know what that means. And then sometimes that's where those incorrect plans of work are being created because the student is trying to complete it on their own. And then that's where the back and forth has to go because they're not meeting with an advisor or their advisor, and then they're getting all confused about what classes to take and such. So is that something was normally the case where the student had to complete their own plan of work on their first appeal? I know you said that on the second appeal, they have to have it for an advisor, but if that's something to consider for their first appeal, having at least some kind of collaboration, I don't know. Because I think that's where confusion, the students don't know. Yeah, I barely know how to maneuver through, but yeah. So is that something that's being reconsidered?
We can bring it up. I feel like we can put a pin in it and we can put a pin and talk about it. It might be, as we do advise them, like I know if I email a student and I see it once wrong, I'm like, hey, yes, you can do this yourself and I can like give you the steps on here's how to do it. But I recommend you go talk to your advisor, and I can see who their advisor is on DegreeWorks as long as things are working properly. And I'll be like, your advisor is, Cynthia, here's her email. Go talk to her. So I usually will do that. But yeah, we can bring it up just to looking at things.
Like I said before, thank you, Shane.
Yep.
We cannot do our work without you. To me, when I went to Louis to say, you know what, I want to do this for the academic advice, we cannot do our work without. They're so valuable. These students desperately need these academic advisors. And also, you have no idea how many of these students never grace your presence. I don't understand why, but they just don't. It should be mandatory that they at least contact you twice per semester or something before the next semester begins, something so that they know where they are. We're shocked. We're shocked that the students don't take advantage of your assistance. To me, this is something that we always tell the students, please check with your academic advisor, like Shane just said, because we can't walk this walk alone. I tell them, we depend on the academic advisors. Without their help, we're done here. Don't even bother coming because we can't help you without their help. So, Cynthia, did Shane answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
would hope that does get like exactly what you're saying, Daisy, about relationship building with students.
Yes.
Because the students are going to go on that plan of work and
Yes.
have gone on that plan of work, try to create it on their own.
Yep.
It's wrong.
Yes.
It's not,
We
it's
know.
not aligning, right? It's not aligning. And then they have to do the back and forth.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that Shane, thank you for acknowledging that, maybe to reconsider that, having the students do the plan of work on their own.
Yeah, no, we're trying to make them independent here, Cynthia. We're really trying. I have seniors who are graduating in June who still haven't filed their FAFSA for this academic year, 22-23. They just barely did it. And they come into the Welcome Center for us to help them. And I'm looking at them and I'm saying, hey, you're here to get a bachelor's degree. You're graduating in May. You want me to do what? Let's sit down, bring your laptop, and you start doing this, and then I'll take a look at it. But it's very, very difficult. But this is one of the things we're going to have to, once we discuss this with our managers, we're going to have to see how, we can fix this to make this more palatable. Kate?
I wanted to ask, you mentioned their plan, their personal statement, and their form. And do you often look at advisor notes? I'm assuming you all have access to STARS. You can see who your advisor is. How important is it? Do you corroborate things with advisor notes? Do you look at them for any insight into other issues the student might be? I'm just curious if you ever do a deep dive into the student's profile and look at advising notes so that we know, to be careful about that. And so that that there are also certain things that you won't see us talk about, like we won't talk about referrals to CAPS or disability services, or two things that we routinely don't reveal in our notes. But just wondering if there's any sort of advice on that or way we could work together through the notes.
I have done that because I've been here a long time, Kate. So I know to do that when I'm reviewing an appeal, but I don't know if my colleagues have checked the advisor's notes on STARS.
I only look for a couple of very specific programs that I handle. And usually only if it's especially complicated. If I have a concern or something, I will just reach out directly to the advisor on file. Honestly, sometimes because STARS, I try to, if I need to, it'll just crash, and I'm like, it's easier to email somebody than wait for the system to not crash 3 times. So yeah, I don't know if Ashley's looked at them or not, but yeah.
I typically do not look at the notes. I too reach directly out to the academic advisor.
And this is a good point, Kate, and well, Shabana's here, so she'll move it on and to the other group of managers to see, you know, if this is something we would do as a standard procedure or whatever. But we, you know, that's what we do. We just reach out to the academic advisors most of the time. So, but it's a good idea to perhaps take a look at those notes also. So thank you for that. Any other question, any other concern, anything that we can do to help you to, you know, do your job and do it well as you always do? Anything that we can do, please never hesitate to email us and say, hey, Daisy or Ashley or anybody in financial aid, I think this is a good, or let Kate know and she'll forward it to us. You know, I couldn't remember anything else, but I remember this now. Can you guys look into this, or can you incorporate it, or can you, because we will be doing these on a yearly basis probably. And if the Department of Education changes anything, they haven't done it this year, we will definitely let Kate know so that she can, you know, let all of you know. We don't want any mysteries here. We want to be open as much as we can with this, so that you are, you know, we're both on the same page here. And our goal is to assist the students so that they can graduate. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else has a concern? Shabana, anything that you may want to add?
Hi there, thank you. I was just getting some clarification about the senior sprint question that was in the chat. So yes, there's nothing, it does not apply to certificates, but if they are working on a second degree, then yes, they would be considered for the award if they're graduating at the end of spring, summer. So just got clarification on that real quick. So that was it, but thank you.
And Stephanie's comment about seeing emails that get sent out to students about financial aid. So we're not talking like, you know, personal emails that are student specific with dollars and stuff, but like any general emails or announcements that you send out. So Liza communicates to students about registration deadlines and dates. And I think we're gonna ask the Welcome Center to share with us anything they send out, you know, certainly about flat rate tuition and any new initiatives. So just if there's ever any communication that goes out to students that are using financial aid, any generic announcements or reminders, you can always send them to me as well, and I will forward them to advisors, because it helps when we know what students get.
Right.
And say, oh yeah, I know you would have gotten that.
We would love to do that. You know, I've done that with you several times, Kate, because it's important to keep the lines of communication open. And there's nothing worse in my world than you meet with a student, they ask a question, you say, well, I don't know what you're talking about. You don't say it, but you think it. So we want you to know as much as possibly can without breaking federal regulation and all that good stuff, so that you can better serve your students. This is really important to us, and our managers are very supportive when it comes to that. So we're you know, and I appreciate that, Kate, and we will do that. And I'll make an announcement when we meet. Shabana can also make an announcement if there's something that new that we forget, you know, to forward to you for the benefit of your staff and how they advise our students. So anything else you want to
I have another.
discuss?
How many documents on the online version of the SAP Appeal can a student upload? Because I was a student was trying to upload their documents on the online version, and it was only showing like one document additional that they can upload. So I'm wondering, was that a glitch, or what was that? How many documents can they upload?
Probably a glitch.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I mean, I have seen some SAP appeals that max out at like 52 pages.
Right. Oh,
Please
yeah.
advise the student not to submit that many pages, because we do have to review them all, and that's a lot of pages of reading. But I mean, if it's needed, obviously, but sometimes there are 52 pages and you're like, do I really need 52 pages.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was a glitch. They also,
Okay.
what can be done is if that's happening, they can on their financial aid portal just upload it as an additional document and just note on the first page SAP appeal, and we will sort it out on our end.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, that sounds like a banner CI and IT glitch.
Okay. Very good.
Right.
Good.
And
Thank
we'll take a look at that too. Helen,
Hi, Daisy.
hello.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to
I
see
just
you
wanted
too.
to- Thank you. I just wanted to clarify more detail needed for the transition to college and first gen explanation, because I hear that a lot, like, I didn't know that, or can I just say I'm transitioning? So when you say more detail would be helpful, can you give any
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
guidance with that? Because I hear that a lot, you know.
Shane, you can give some, and then I'm going to give some, and Ashley can give some.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If I get that, when I look at appeal, I want to see big for me is like under the like transitioning steps they have taken at this point to transition. Okay, so if let's just say, you know, their fall semester, they fail everything and they're registering, you know, they have an academic probation semester, but they submitted anyways, or some variation of they need an appeal. I want to see what they're doing at this point. So they've come and talked to you. They have it documented. They've, you know, I'm using the Academic Success Center. I'm talking to, if they're a transfer student, transfer success, like they have documented, I did not transition well. I am now doing this.
Focus on the transition part.
Yeah, like it's not that we're not gonna accept I'm a first generation or not gonna say, it's more like, okay, that is fair, that is valid, but
Mhm.
what are you changing? Like clear, logical steps, like,
How are you acclimating and learning about it?
yeah,
Okay,
very concrete logic. Give me that concreteness.
okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
The other thing, it could be a first generation student whose English is not his dominant or even mother tongue, and they are trying to do what they can do, you know, to succeed. In a case like that, we'll look at that and we'll see what's going on before denying the appeal. But just to say, well, I'm sorry, I'm a first generation student and I'm a first generation student, that's not going to cut it, you know. And 9 times out of 10, when we deny those appeals, if we ever deny them, we will get response from a student saying, well, let me explain what happened. And we may meet with them. So that's where we're going with this, because we don't want flimsy reasons, you know, to be documented. This is professional judgment when we get audited by the Department of Education. Imagine an auditor coming in and seeing all these reasons that are just, you know, not valid without documentation. That's the key right there. So Shane is right. You know, we don't want to deny some of those. We know this is very real, but we better have good documentation. So,
Okay. Thank you,
okay.
guys. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, last call for questions or comments. And we will do this again.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much, Shane, Ashley, and of course, Daisy and Shabana. It's great to work with you. We will meet again on April 13th for more of a general discussion of all things financial aid. So if you do think of something, you can send it to me and I'll get it to Daisy. And you can also bring up SAP at the April 13th as well. Sure, it will come up. So, all right, thank you guys. I'm going to stop recording and we'll call it a day. All right. Thank you, guys.